James has positive qualities.
Nice.
It's no secret that in later seasons, and for most of the show's run as a whole, there's very little to James in the way of positive traits. He's most often seen thinking that he's above a job he was given, or that he deserves things that others don't. In the last episode, he implied that he matters more than Gordon in some way because of the color of his paint. Self-awareness has just never been his strong suit. This is Season 1, Episode 9, Troublesome Trucks. This is the episode that makes James more than that. Let's talk about it. Timestamps on screen. We'll get into the episode now and review after. James had been stuck in the shed for several days after what he did. He hasn't seen the Fat Controller in the entire time he's been locked away. He wasn't allowed out to shunt even, so he sits in the shed crying, thinking about what he's done, coming to terms with this being his own fault. When the Fat Controller does finally come to see him, he speaks in a more encouraging tone. He acknowledges that James is sorry and that he has caused him a lot of trouble. Because of James, people are laughing at his railway and he doesn't like that at all. James apologizes and says that he'll behave. The Fat Controller smiles at this and tells him that he has some trucks for him to pull. Last episode, James would have not liked to hear this, but now he's just glad to be moving again. He headed out to the yard where Thomas was getting his train ready. Thomas, still being Thomas of course, asks James if he has some bootlaces ready, ruining James's good mood and running off laughing. Backing onto his train, he bumps the trucks. The trucks, of course, complain, saying they wanted a proper engine and not a red monster. As soon as the guard was ready, James left the station. The trucks argued and held back, but James pulled through their brakes. The trucks tried hard to stop him, and sometimes their brakes would slip on or axle boxes run hot, and they'd have to stop to fix the issue each time, but James was determined to pull this train. The trucks told him to give up and that he couldn't pull them, but he kept going. James would repeat to the trucks,
"I can and I will, I can and I will."
It was slow going and it was hard work, but he knew he could do it. And before Gordon's Hill, he could even be seen smiling. When they reached the hill, James's driver told him the plan. They'd hit the hill at speed and get the trucks up to the top before they know it.
Don't let them stop you.
And James didn't plan on it. Soon they were nearly halfway up, and James was panting and running out of breath, just waiting for the top to come, and then it all became easy. James continued on, very proud of himself, until his crew stopped him. Half of his train had broken away and run down the hill, where the guard brought them safely to a stop. James headed slowly down to find the back end of his train, very angry, but not defeated. At the bottom he met Edward, who offered his help, and James was determined to do this by himself, so he said as much.
Good. Don't let them beat you. You're doing well.
James was back to crawling up the hill, and when he got over the top, he was rightfully proud of himself. He was sitting at the next station refueling when Edward pulled up next to him, carrying a familiar face. The Fat Controller stepped down to speak to James. James was worried, but he really didn't need to be. The Fat Controller was smiling. He was on Edward's train and had seen everything. James brought the most troublesome trucks on the line over Gordon's Hill, and he did it alone.
After that, you deserve to keep your red coat.
Alright, let's talk about the music. As always, it was really good. To me, it sounds like there's two different versions of James's theme here, tailored to the mood of the moment. I don't think there's a bad version of James's theme anywhere in the show. Determination and triumph within the same song. The visuals here are really nice too. There's a single shot about 2 minutes in where we look out at James from the forest, and it's another one of those shots that feels like pulled right out of the storybooks. We also see the set at the bottom of Gordon's Hill again. What I like about it is that it's sort of a tight space. It makes the engines look so big in a way they don't really look in most of the season. The first season, they're maintaining the storybook aesthetic, so they don't feel very much like machines, even though they obviously are machines. Seeing it used for more than just a passing through shot is a bit of a relief to me. It'd be a shame for a set that looks this good to be used for literally nothing. We get shots of James's crew in his cab. There's not much to say, but it's a neat look. Same thing with a short clip around 1:55 into the episode, where his crew is working on the truck after they run a hotbox. The best visuals in this episode are, without a doubt, the scenes of James charging the hill. I don't know how they made the breakaway scene happen, but that's super impressive to me as a viewer. I'm also clueless when it comes to railway modeling, so maybe there's something I'm missing. Either way, great scene. You get to look out over the island sort of from here, and it's really beautiful. On to the story. Story's a simple redemption arc tailored to James's specific traits. He's doing work he doesn't like, but he knows he can't let Sir Topham Hatt down, or himself, more importantly. It's simple. There isn't much to say about it. So, let's talk about the characters. Firstly, Thomas continues to be himself. He's kinda just a set piece this time. Edward appears just long enough to continue wishing everyone the best. And of course to take the Fat Controller up the hill to meet James. Sir Topham Hatt is once again being very encouraging here. He's relieved to see that James has learned from his mistakes, and he gives him work to do. When James had proved himself, he was proud. Not a development necessarily, but a continuation of previous traits. On to James. This is the big one. James goes from just some caricature to an actual character. He will not be stopped by the trucks. He had the chance to get help and chose to do it himself. He wanted to prove his worth. He can work very hard. He isn't just self-absorbed. He's strong, persistent, confident. We got all of his negative traits in the last episode and all of the positive things in this one. He's almost real now, a full character. By the end of this story, he has earned his paint and the right to think highly of himself to some extent. He took on a train of the worst trucks on the island. That's kind of a big deal in this universe. It's a bit early, I know, but this is going to be another 10 out of 10. A massive step up from the last episode, and probably my favorite James episode ever. Great music, strong visuals, a well-built redemption arc. It's just so satisfying. James is more grounded, and now he's well placed for his next episode, where a more humble character is needed. Great stuff. Let me know what you think in the comments. Subscribe for more. I'll be back next week with another review.